Hey y'all, today we're going to talk about adding cork to your ZipFit liners. So the first tool that's good to have is just a pair of needle nose pliers. There are 3 different ports where you can add cork composite material to your ZipFits. The first is hidden right behind the black plastic of the tongue. The second 2 are behind each second lace loop on either side of the liner. So with the needle nose pliers, it just makes accessing that port a little bit easier. And you want to make sure that it is 2 separate pieces because it's a sleeve where the cork tube and the plunger will access. Often they come pretty tight tucked together. Just make sure you separate that so that you're actually adding the cork to the pouch. So down here you can see I've already accessed these 2, and that one looks like it's kind of together. Great. Make sure that it's open. This is a smaller liner. It's a 23.5. The size of your liner will dictate the amount of cork that each one of these pouches can actually accommodate. For the tongue, there's cork composite material all the way down until the instep, where the tongue integrates with the toe box. So sorry, through the instep, this whole tongue is filled with cork composite. And for an idea of what that looks like, you can see here on this tongue that has been cut open, that's all cork material, and it's dynamic. As you push it around and move it, it'll shape to your shin. All right. So for adding cork to the tongue, we typically recommend starting with half a tube or so per each tongue. If you know you need significant amount of volume, consider adding more cork. But key for this, we're gonna warm this up for 15 seconds in the microwave. That's gonna make a huge difference. We just want the cork material to be malleable and to easily integrate in with the liner. The best time to fit or add more cork to your liners is after skiing them for a day, and really think about where on the boot you need to add a little bit more material. That'll also warm up the cork that's in the boot if you're out skiing in it. Great. So that cork is now warmed up a little bit. And as I said, you separate those 2 sleeves and the plunger can go right in. You'll actually see the plunger on the inside of the boot. And for adding more cork, half a tube, you'll see that half tube reflected inside the tongue of the liner. It's easier to see on the leather liners than it is on the neoprene liner, but if you plunge in, and I'm not going to plunge in this liner just because it's still in good shape, you can then just use your fingers and knead the material around to disperse it to where you want it. If you want it further down in the instep, you literally just knead like a tube of toothpaste, pushing that cork material further down into the instep. The ankle pockets are slightly more complicated. So you might be able to see in here, there's a clear divot for the ankle. Our ankle pouches have 3 different channels where cork can be added. The first is all the way down behind the Achilles, or along the Achilles behind the ankle. The second is right over that ankle bone. And the third is up toward the front of the ankle pouch, kind of over the instep on each side. So when you want to add more cork to the ankle pouches, once again, we'll separate the sleeve, and I'll just show kind of the direction where you want to actually add the cork. If I'm looking to add more to just right over the ankle bone, that's the one pouch in our liners that comes stock without any cork in it. It creates a donut around it by having cork everywhere else. So if you want it right over the ankle bone, you should have your plunger and cork tube pointed right at that spot, and that'll add cork to that area. If you want it toward the instep up front, that cork tube is going to be pointed pretty much straight down. This back channel comes packed filled with cork, so if you do need more in the Achilles area, you're actually going to point the tube directly toward the back. This one is the hardest to add more cork to. It's often easier to just add more cork to the ankle area and using your thumbs manipulate it more into the Achilles zone of the ankle pocket. So the same goes for the other side. With the ankle pockets, we typically recommend adding between a third and a half tube at a time. All right, I am going to add some cork to this old liner that we use as the display. This is the one with the cut up tongue. So if I want to add it right over the ankle bone, it's kind of coming in at a 45-degree angle. The cork has been warmed up, and you're going to take your plunger and basically pressure. That's about 1/3 of a tube. Maybe I want a little bit more. And remove it. The cork is malleable and sticky. If there's a little bit at the end, you can just pop it back in the tail end of the tube. And then I'm going to bring my thumb down in there and move that material around so it's dispersed and even, and then try on and see if I've achieved the fit that I want for this area. So that means if you want to add, half a tube or 3/4 of a tube to your tongues and maybe a third of a tube to each ankle pocket right over the bone, then go out and ski in it, see how it feels, and reassess. Other tricks for adding more cork, really have the liner a little warmed up, have the cork tube itself a little warmed up, and that's about it. Your thumbs are the best tools for moving this around. A handle of a broomstick is also good just to get in there and actually move the cork around if you're having trouble dispersing it. This is a World Cup Sidewinder model. All of our models have those same 3 pouches, including the new touring model. The only other note is for a 27.5 or a 30.5, you'll likely be able to add quite a bit more cork because the pouch is more than twice the size of this 23.5 pouch. So it all depends on how much you need, but we recommend adding less to begin with because it is harder to remove than it is to add. If you do need to remove cork, I recommend finding kind of the perfect spoon in your silverware drawer that has a nice curved back end to it and isn't too wide, because that kind of works as the best scoop. Great. If you have any questions, of course, leave a comment or give us a call.